This is Frank J. Avella with Awards Daily. Celebrated filmmaker Guy Nattiv won the Academy Award for Best Live Action Short for his 2018 film Skin, which he then adapted into a stunning feature starring Jamie Bell. His latest work, Golda, focuses on a few days in the life of legendary Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir. It's a pleasure to welcome you, Guy.
Hey man, thank you for having me.
Tell me how this project came your way.
All right, so there was a script running around town um, that I was competing with other directors. Was kind of an open assignment to direct. Um, it was a kind of different project in the beginning. When I what I read was kind of a 80% war movie and 20% Golda. And when I came, I did my pitch. I told them that I really want to do it the other way around. I want to do like a 40% or 80%, sorry, Golda and 20% war.
Hmm.
And they got back to me after a few months, and they told me, yes, let's do this. Why don't you work with Nicholas Martin? But just know one thing: there's already an actress attached to play Golda. It's Helen Mirren, and she read the script and really liked it, and we want you to meet with her to see if you are on the same page. And I was like, great, let's meet. And she came to my house in the middle of the pandemic, and we sat for 3 hours and just spoke and spoke and spoke, and we understood that we want to do something very intimate about Golda in this specific time, um, playing, kind of like almost like a requiem for a leader, the downfall of an entire country.
What's one of the things I really appreciated about the film because normally we get these sweeping biopics, and here we just have the focus is on the Yom Kippur War of 73, and we get so much more insight into her because of it.
Yeah, that was my goal. And I mean, you and I probably grew up on the same films from the 70s. I grew up on, The Conversation, Coppola,
Yeah.
Blowout, Brian De Palma, Parallax View, um, 3 Days of the Condor. I mean, they called it the paranoia films of the 70s, political
Yeah.
paranoia films. And I really thought that to take Golda, who was so isolated and so hunted by the Holocaust because she was just a kid when it all happened, and to bring these people into this baton structure with with um, war rooms and meetings and tons of smoke and bunker, and bring the war into the room rather than
Yeah.
go out and shoot war scenes without even one blood drop of blood, is something that I wanted, because if you look at the conversation, it's based on sound. You get another narrative by sound. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to isolate Golda, to make her feel very lonely, sad, older, and sick.
Yeah.
And I got those notifications from people I knew, like Meron Mezzini, her press secretary, who's still alive. He's 91. I'm going to meet him tonight in the screening.
Nice.
Adam Sneer, her bodyguard. They all gave me those nuances about who she was at that specific time. And that specific time shaped her image as who we know today.
Well, and so much of the narrative, I love how you depict certain momentous scenes, like seeing the bombings, for instance, from the point of view of the plane. I thought was extraordinary.
Yeah, I didn't thank you. First of all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I didn't want to go to the actual field, to see the actual, um, to be there. I thought that we are very far from it. We just see the bombing, we see the carpet of bombing, and we hear the sound. And the sound that I picked was the real sound from the war that one of the veterans gave me. So I used
Wow.
the real deal the real thing, and I also let them hear it on set.
Well, you weave footage throughout the narrative. Was that always a part of the plan?
Yeah, look, I again inspirations in life. You know, I grew up also in JFK, Oliver Stone, who I met in
Yeah.
Jerusalem Film Festival. JFK had this revolutionary thing that he's, intertwining fast, kind of 8 millimeter and 16 mil from the war. Then they did it later in Jackie as well, and I felt I want to intertwine some footage to reach it a little bit when she gets out of the bunker to visit the troops.
You're mentioning all my favorite films. It's crazy. I want to ask you about A Woman Called Golda with the amazing Ingrid Bergman. I'm assuming you've seen it.
Yeah, I saw it, and Helen.
Uh, do you think it was a faithful portrayal of Golda, and was it in any way helpful to you?
I mean, when you look at it as an Israeli, it's a little naive
Mm,
today to look at the film from the 80s. You know, I just saw in the Exodus by Otto
yeah,
Preminger.
yeah.
It's bigger than life, but is it truthful? Is it like authentic? It's Hollywood. I didn't want to do the Hollywood version of that. I wanted to do the dire downfall of Hitler version of it.
Well, you achieved it. Let's talk a little bit about Helen Mirren. I want to get the controversy out of the way. I just want to ask you, there's so much that's been discussed about who should be cast in what roles, and I happen to be a writer and director myself, and I have my own
What
feelings
do you
on it.
think?
But
What do you think about it?
honestly, I think that the best actors should be chosen for
Oh,
the roles.
that's it. That's what I think about it. I mean, come on. We are artists. Yeah, you're an artist. You know. I
Yeah,
mean, the best person should play the right person should play the role.
yeah,
I don't have
absolutely.
a problem with the right actor should play the role, and I think that it's when the wrong actor is playing the role that's what I feel a little clunkiness. But I don't think that anyone from people who saw the movie feel that Helen Mirren is not the right person.
She's astonishing in it.
Honestly, she's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And getting back to Golda herself, it's interesting to me that the film suggests that Golda deliberately took the fall for the lack of preparedness for the attack, even though and she was given erroneous information by her advisors. This is something that I think a lot of people don't know.
No, a lot of people don't know that, and that's what we got from the protocols that came out, the uncensored protocol that came out 10 years ago by the government. Suddenly, and we understood. You have to understand, Golda was such a pariah in Israel that schools were not named after her because of that. I mean, you don't have any park named Golda Park. Now you
Mm,
do one, but it's not like Menachem Begin or Ben Gurion. It's not like a Herzl.
yeah.
Golda was somebody to be ashamed of because these men, it was easy to blame her for the debacle, for the failure. She took the bullets and she resigned. Now show me today one politician that will resign because of a failure. It's not happening.
No.
And Golda was truthful enough and she was sincere enough and humble enough to say, you know what? It's on me. She took the blame for the listening device that was not turned on by her intelligence officer.
Mm.
And I wanted to change this narrative. I wanted to do her good, to bring justice a little bit, if I could. And a lot of people see that as justice, in Israel.
I think people here too. My husband happens to be a history teacher, a high school history teacher, and Golda's always been a hero of his, and he was thrilled to see that as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's interesting also, another thing that we don't think about a lot. We're always shown that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, for instance, we came close to nuclear war. But I was surprised to see that the threat was real during the Yom Kippur War.
Dayan, who's lost his shit, um, basically came to Golda and told her, "I am going to the Dimona to activate the nuclear weapon." And she said, "Are you out of your mind? Chill." You are not doing it. She was the grown up in charge. She was the Safta. She was like and I think that we were really close to be decimated, and I think that nobody knew that Golda saved our asses because she and her relationship with Kissinger persuading him with a great soup of borscht to supply Israel with missiles and planes and ammunition and guns. That what saved Israel at the very last second before decimation.
It's crazy, and it was Nixon, which, ooh.
Yeah, which it's so
He
crazy.
he did one good thing, okay. Um, did you learn anything that shocked or surprised you about Golda besides what we've been discussing during the making of the film?
Everything. I mean, just imagine. I thought that Golda was why to make movie about someone who was responsible for everything, responsible for and reading all the protocols, talking to people who are close to her, like Mezzini, like you know, I got a different picture, a different point of view on her, and learning how emotional she was, how she cared about people, how she cared about the country and not about herself. I was surprised to see that she was chain smoker and smoked like 5 packets a day, drank black coffee nonstop all day, and was basically killing herself. Yeah,
I wanna pivot for a second and ask you about Skin because I was in the Tribeca audience when it premiered there, and the feature blew me away. I mean, I loved the short, but I adore the feature. I thought it was so powerful, and I wish it had been seen by more people.
I know. I mean, look, it's not an easy movie, as you know, and A24 really, you know, played with the idea of distributing it. Um, but it's not an easy look at America. It's like who wants to see a protagonist who's a neo-Nazi? It's
Yeah.
not an easy look. So, and they were both they. It's just it wasn't the right time, I guess, to if we were talking like now, maybe it's a different point of view, but I think it was controversial in a way that I took a protagonist that used to be a monster and made the change into being a human being.
Mm,
And people were angry after Trump was elected. People were angry, and you didn't have any place for acceptance, I guess.
yeah.
Thank you for
No.
saying that. I appreciate it. I love this movie.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. What's happening next for you, Guy? What do you work? I know Tatami.
Yeah, so Tatami is the first Israeli Iranian collaboration. Zari Brahimi. I don't know if you saw. Did you see a movie called Holy Spider?
Yes, it's extraordinary.
She's the lead. So
Oh,
I love this movie. I saw her in the movie, my jaw dropped, and I decided to offer her to direct it with me. And a woman named Ilham, who's also Iranian, wrote the script with me. And together, Iranians and Israelis, we met in Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia, and directed and this movie about this Iranian judo fighter
oh
who
wow.
is going for the gold and getting a phone call from Iran saying to her, abort mission, you're not allowed to face the Israeli traitor. And she say, F you, I'm going in to take the gold. And they say, okay, every time you go into the side to compete and win, you're gonna pay the price back home, and it's gonna be your family. So it's taking place in one night. It's a political thriller, but it's about this female revolution of Iranians who are taking their faith and going to for freedom, basically. And it's been showing in Venice Film Festival. That's the first time, and hopefully you'll see it in New York.
Fantastic. That's later this month, right? Or early
Yeah,
September.
later
Yeah.
this month. Yeah.
I just have one more question for you. And again, going back to Golda, I think you do something really, really important with this film. She was the only woman in the room,
That's
which
true.
w yeah, pretty amazing, and with all of the things that were happening to her, she was able to hold her own, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't she one of the first world leaders who was female?
First world leader in the Western world in our modern time, paving the way to Angela Merkel, Margaret Thatcher, and hopefully the next US president.
Yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope. Yeah, and that I think in and of itself, makes this film an extraordinary achievement.
She was a
So,
pioneer. She was a pioneer and first in her time. She in Israel when surrounded by misogynist men.
wow. Well, I want to thank you for the film. I want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with me.
Thank you so much, Frank. You're amazing, and thank you for your support. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Guy.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.